Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is March 7th and it's Thursday. Hope you guys are having a good day, and we got a lot of stuff to dive into today. What we'll talk about is Solana. We'll take a look at how Solana is doing technically, dive into some of the DEX volumes and some news on Lads. We'll talk about the Bitcoin ETF inflows, and we'll talk a little bit about check up on the miners and kind of my thesis around miners. And then we got some random news about gold's all-time highs, and then also the New York banks. And then when we have time, we'll talk about NEAR, and then we'll talk about some of the meme coins, and then finally end it with why it's important being patient and then watching your thesis play out. So let's dive in. Okay, so looking at the daily chart for Solana had a big day today. We're up 11%, so it did catch up, and it is making that catch-up trade that we talked a little bit about, and how it's following Bitcoin and how it's just following along, and it was kind of poised for this move since it was lagging behind Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the other coins as well too. So we're currently trading at $145, and we have some upper targets here for 160. I think we can definitely hit that 160 mark relatively soon, and it has a lot of good momentum going for it. Right now, it has a sell countdown of 2, so indicating the direction is up. I think as you see, some of these intermediate signals, and you saw from our last video, they diverge and they can change pretty drastically. It's really good, and that's the thing about data anyways. What you want to do is take a look at the trend rather than one single data point from a single day. I think, remember last time we had a 9 right here indicating that we had a sell countdown, and that's just from the DeMark signals. Now we have a clearer uptrend, and again, some of these mixed signals, there are these signals here in the intermediate I don't pay too much attention to. I really look at the trend and seeing where the whole data set is moving to. So downside targets, we have some downside targets here of, I think a little bit under 135, 138 here. So nothing too crazy. RSI dipped down a little bit, but I think we're going to probably stay along this overbought condition, as there's still a lot of momentum right now for Solana. Moving over to the daily, we hit this projection here for $149. So it hit that, and now is going down on a downtrend. I think it's probably going to consolidate for a little bit and then try to make a push higher from here. And looking at the weekly, no real changes here. I think this was the last major target. If you draw this line across at about 148, 149, 150 anyways. I think once we make a break for this, we really don't have any resistance to maybe this 200, 250 mark anyway. So Solana's poised for some big moves. And yeah, I think from a momentum perspective, RSI's going to start trending up. It's been oversold, so that's good. It allows the market to just kind of reset, and that's really good from a weekly time frame, and hopefully we'll get some more momentum to the upside here with Solana. So there's been a lot of action on the Solana blockchain right now. One post here from Tom Wan is talking specifically about how DeFi and some of the DEX volumes is kind of exploding here on Solana. So Tom says, it's really super impressive that, Solana's growth right now holds about 28.5% of the total DEX volume, while Ethereum owns 36.1%. Only a year ago, Solana only had 1.1% of the market share, and Ethereum had 50 to 70% of the market share. As you can see here, this is a good kind of indication of how Solana's been on this uptrend and been on this tear of taking over some of the DeFi DEX volumes here. Solana here is at 28, and we mentioned Ethereum at 36%. We also have Arbitrum, which is getting up there as well too, at 12.5%, and the next biggest one is going to be the BNB chain at 12.7%. So I think this is what is probably moving some of the Solana price right now. It's just some of the massive volumes that we've been seeing in the DEX. I know that some of the meme coins as well, like WIF and some of the other coins have been on a tear, and so we'll cover some of those. Just kind of adds to the process and some of the things of why Solana's been moving so much. Tom also says market share for the Solana DEXs like Orca, Radium, and Meteora have been kind of gaining and getting a lot of steam and a lot of action here. Let's take a look here. We'll see that right now Uniswap still owns a large percentage of the DEX change, and so that's Ethereum, and that's the most commonly used decentralized exchange. We have PancakeSwap, which is on the BNB chain, and then we have Orca, Radium, Curve. Orca and Radium are on the Solana blockchain. And so it's good to see some of this action and see some of the DEX volumes moving over to Solana. Again, Solana's main selling point is the fee structure. It's much cheaper than, let's say, Uniswap or Ethereum. So I think that's going to be the ongoing trend here as we see DEX volume go down for Uniswap and Ethereum, and some of the other DEX on Solana are going to be picking up that volume that's and some of that share. So Mad Alpha also dropped us some news for the MadLats ecosystem. So Wormhole is actually starting to, put out some of the information about the airdrops. About 30 million coins or tokens are going to actually be going to the MadLads community, which is, I think, super cool. I know some of you guys know that I'm invested in MadLads, but only the ones with the W token attached to the MadLads got that airdrop or is going to get the airdrop. It's actually going to be, I believe they're going to get about 3,000 Wormhole tokens to initially start with, and then the rest of it vests over a year. I think this is kind of crazy, and about not all of the MadLads get that airdrop. The ones with the W badges are about 3,000 of them, I think, from the last research that I had from the Discord. But that goes to show, depending on how the Wormhole token trades, that could be, a $30,000 airdrop that some of the MadLads were able to get. So that's incredibly cool. What I also thought was really cool was this tweet from Austin Federa. Austin Federa is actually the head of strategy for the Solana Foundation, and he goes to say, the MadLads team has done something no other NFT community yet managed to do, make the community influential enough to attract airdrops from independent projects. They closed the analogy we have is the Saga Genesis tokens soul bound to phones. It is a sight to behold and likely a new path for others to follow. I think Austin makes a good point. Solana, MadLads is kind of changing the way the NFT markets have been kind of working. Previously in the past with the Ethereum NFTs, what you've seen is that projects, they airdrop tokens or have other airdrops in there, and it actually detracts and takes away the value of the ecosystem. What you're seeing now with MadLads and the way that they're, attaching these token and these badges attached to the NFT, it, allows value to be accrued to the token and to the NFT project. And as I mentioned, you get some of the Wormhole tokens right away, and the other ones vest over a year. So the value actually stays with the individual asset for the specific MadLads with that W badge. And so that, holds value, holds token economics, and I think it helps, and it changes the way right now that NFT projects are going to be handling different airdrops and just kind of changing the game. So I think that's why I've been invested into MadLads. They've been kind of really changing the game, and they've been really making people think, and especially with their backpack exchange and now having applications directly on NFTs and NFT assets. I think it's just going to be a real game changer, and they've been kind of delivering and even attracting a lot of talent and a lot of high profile projects as well within the Solana ecosystem. So next we'll talk about the Bitcoin ETF inflows. I know some of the other days we talked about Bitcoin from a technical perspective. Not much to talk about from a technical perspective. I think Bitcoin's just taking a little bit of breather here. It's been on a tear, and so that's why you're probably seeing other coins and altcoins just be ripping. And I think that's probably going to be the trend for now. We didn't cover it yesterday on the 5th, but on the 5th, you actually had $650 million of inflows. I think that's probably, almost the second largest day. We had February 28th at 673 million. And then yesterday we had $330 million flow into the Bitcoin ETFs. That's kind of crazy. I think a lot of folks, and what I've been hearing as well too, is a lot of folks are making this way more complicated than it has to be. And sometimes the charts are actually going to steer you wrong. As you can see, we're going to be looking at this trend, and we'll be continuing to follow in the ETF inflows, but there's a very limited supply of Bitcoin. Some of them have already been lost. I think a couple of million have already been lost through wallets and different ways of losing them. With the limited number of coins that are left, these Bitcoin ETFs are going to continue to buy them, and they're agnostic of what the price of that. I've also heard of other funds and other people in other countries as well too. And I think the rumor right now is some of the Middle Eastern countries are starting to buy Bitcoin, especially for the, investment in the large family funds. Now it gives them a way to access Bitcoin without having to hold your wallet, having to control the keys, and just additional risk and in a structure that they're much more familiar with. The last thing about the Bitcoin ETFs, I still don't think, a lot of the major wealth groups who manage large retirement accounts, they're still probably going through the due diligence process to make sure that they can invest in some of these Bitcoin ETFs. So I think the Bitcoin flows or ETF inflows are still going to continue. And I think that some of these charts and some of the things technically, I'm going to put, less emphasis on them. And I'll kind of just think about this simply, knowing that Bitcoin is probably going to appreciate and also is going to continue to move up due to these inflows. I also know that, sometimes historically there's been a pullback prior to the happening. So I'm kind of mixed on Bitcoin right now. And so maybe tactically I will be making some more trades, at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks with the appreciation. But after those 3 weeks, I could be, prepared for a pullback pre-happening. So we'll see how everything plays out. So moving over to RIOT right now on the daily chart, we can kind of see it struggling. It has a buy countdown of 7, so potentially 2 more days we have until it kind of reverses trend, hopefully. We also have the differential and then camouflage signals right now indicating a trend reversal. Today, we're flat at 0.2%. RSI is in this oversold territory, so hoping that RIOT moves continue to go up. Again, I still have it in my long-term portfolio. It's still trading at $12.09. And what I really wanted to show you guys from is the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart here, I've been kind of looking back at this and looking at some of the projections here for D-Wave. So right now for RIOT on the weekly time frame and D-Wave, and it's still been active since February, March 3rd was the last signal. We have a D-Wave projection of $128. I've traded a lot of these miners in the past cycle as well too, and I don't think this is a kind of outlandish projection here for $128 for RIOT. I know that it's been lagging along, but this is my long-term thesis, and I think that RIOT still does have some more room to go here. And again, this is really my target, the $100 range for RIOT, and I'm gonna kind of watch things and see how this plays and see how the miners do with Bitcoin. I know the cycle is a little bit different, so we'll see how everything goes, but most of the time you're not going to see, and I didn't see some of the large gains in the miners in the last cycle until the very end of the cycle, what we call like crypto or macro autumn as well too. So just to kind of give you guys a target of what I'm looking for, and then what my plan is, and why I'm holding on for RIOT, and until something changes, until we break down majorly from some of these major targets of, let's say, what do we have here at like $10 and $8, then I'll be a little bit more concerned. But looking at the daily chart, it seems like we sold off, and that's okay. And that's what technical analysis does. It just helps me sleep better at night. So moving over to CleanSpark, which I've been trading a little bit more on my Robinhood account and my tactical trades. Right now we have a buy countdown of 5. So today actually reversed, and we got about 7% gains right now in CleanSpark. So it's trading about $17.80. So as you can see, compared to RIOT, this has been doing much better on a daily time frame. I'm not sure what the market knows, but looking at the price action, I can tell that CleanSpark has been doing much better, and it's been holding its own much better than RIOT. That's why I've been slowly moving some of my RIOT positions in the long term over to CleanSpark, just because I think it has a lot more momentum for it going forward. Now, I think, this is going to switch over, and we're going to probably make another run for CleanSpark here. I did add a little bit into my tactical trades, about less than a month or so, down in this area at the $15.50 mark. And so I'm going to see where this goes, and then if it blasts through $20, I'll probably be taking some profits, in some of this range here. I think the next target I would probably look at is about $23. So now moving over to a little bit of news and just some anecdotal evidence. So right now I have a couple of trades on right now. I have a trade on the Aussie dollar. Also long on the Aussie dollar. I have a short on the US JPY, which is the Japanese currency. I also have trades open right now for oil's futures contract, and then gold futures contract as well too. Gold has actually been hitting an all-time high. I don't think a lot of people, and I think it's been under the radar. I think Bitcoin has been taking a lot of the limelight, but gold prices, have been hitting their all-time highs. It's expected that people are hinting at rate cuts, and so gold does really well in low interest rate environments. Nobody's paying attention to gold right now, and if it's just a good indicator, you can see that every market right now is doing good, with the NASDAQ up almost 2% today. It's just a really bullish environment, and just anecdotally, I think this is something people are also passing up on. And so that's why I put on some trades for the gold futures. I think that, gold is going to be under the radar and it's going to be pushing forward, and just the whole entire market is very, very bullish. So I think this is a really good time for risk taking. And along the same lines, New York Community Bank Corp gets a $1 billion cash injection right now. So New York Community Bank, just got a fresh injection of money right now, about $1 billion worth. And it just kind of shows you how the banking sector right now is also still under pressure right now. They've really highlighted that, a lot of their losses have been due to the commercial real estate sector. Commercial real estate is really struggling right now after COVID, and just kind of shows you, even though we are, in this bullish sentiment in the market, there are probably still some risks out there. Things are still pretty bad for the regional banks right now. And the other thing that they blamed is a lot of their funds have been flowing over to some of the major banks like Citi, Chase, and some of the other major large banks here in the US. I want to kind of share with you guys, just to let you guys know, everything's not all rosy. There are risks, but it seems like the market is kind of putting these risks aside with these bailouts as well too. That could probably provide some narratives for gold and Bitcoin. Since they're going to be printing money, getting these bailouts, that just means that money's losing its value. The US dollar is losing its value. So that's probably why Bitcoin and gold here are hitting their all-time highs. And, speaking of all-time highs, I think that, myself included, the psychological impact and what I saw as these markets hit all-time highs, as we're hitting all-time highs on the S&P 500 and on the NASDAQ, what I've been noticing is that I've had kind of a negative mindset on it. And what I've actually been reading on it is there's actually nothing bearish or nothing bad about all-time highs. I think it's probably quite the opposite of what I'm feeling right now. I always think that once it's all-time high, it's super risky. People are going to be selling, and of course people are going to be doing that, but there's nothing inherently bad about all-time highs. And I think we've kind of had recency bias of, once something hits all-time highs, it's going to sell off. But I think I'm going to fight kind of those emotions, let the charts and let everything determine what I'm going to do next. But yeah, just a quick note on all-time highs. It's actually, I think now is a bullish thing, and I think that I'm going to continue putting risk into the market because the charts and some of the other research I'm doing is telling me to continue putting on risk. So I also wanted to take a look at the New York Community Bank Corp chart with you guys. So we've been going over Bitcoin, Solana, some of the cryptos, some of the gold, and everything looks like a really good chart. I wanted to show you guys what a really bad chart looks like. And as you can see, we've had these 13 buys and these 13 nines on the daily chart for NYCB. And guess what? It blew past all of them. It's still continuing on a downtrend. It's currently trading at $3.70. So this is a stock I would not touch. I would not trade, maybe even potentially buying puts, but still, that still has a lot of volatility attached to it as well, since it's made some of these major moves from here at $10 all the way down to $3 right now. So that kind of shows you what a bad chart looks like. We have some of the DeMark indicators that are telling us it's a trend reversal, but still it's blowing past them. We also have these qualified risk levels, and it's blowing past these risk levels as well too from on the daily chart. On the daily chart, the hourly chart, it doesn't look that bad, but if we take a look at the weekly, we had these 9 buys for some of these reversals, and it's blown through that as well too. All of these risk levels, it's blown through at $6 and at $4 as well too. So this is a chart that doesn't look very healthy, and as we saw from the news, the story probably came out after, but this has been in decline since early, even you can go back to early December, and the peak was July of last year, and it's been on a down tear. So I think I wanted to kind of show you guys the difference between a good chart and a bad chart, and this is what I would think of a bad chart. And then the last thing I wanted to touch base with you guys on is the chart for NEAR. So NEAR's been on my radar. Some of the research I've been seeing is there's been a lot of user activities, and yesterday I think it made a 50% move here. It hit some resistance here at $6, so I'm going to see how it reacts to this. Right now it's actually trading below that at $5.50, but I want to kind of see if it blows past this $6 risk level. If it does, I might be putting on a short-term trade here for at least NEAR. We have some upwave projections right here for $10 in NEAR, so I think that's a good risk and reward ratio right here. So that kind of gives you guys, we can put the stop right under this at maybe $5 here, and so you'll be risking 50 cents to make around affects that. So that's what in trading we call it like a good risk or reward ratio. I'll continue to monitor this, and I'll let you guys know if I do put this trade on. But this chart right here, both on the daily and on the weekly, look very constructive. And then on the daily, right on the hourly here, it had these 9s that it sold off to. It's consolidating, and it's currently on a uptrend right now. So this is really good. So I'll let you guys again know if I do put on this trade for a near, but something that is definitely on my radar. So lastly, I just wanted to end up with a kind of a public service announcements. And as you can see, and I've actually been watching the charts and through all my research as well, there's so many things that are making huge moves right now and gains. And you kind of do go crazy, and what you do is you don't want to go chasing everything. What you want to do is really, I've already had my core positions for, a long time now. Some of these positions I put on over a year ago. And so I'm just sitting, being patient, making small trades while I can with a very, very small subset of my portfolio. And for those of you who haven't been allocated, and those of you who are looking to get in, some of these dips are probably good opportunities to slowly add. But then if you don't want to be active, just let your money work for you. And then, but if you have the time and you want to trade, you can also do that as well too. And I'm sure you can do well. It really depends on your age, your time horizon as well too. If I was 18, early 20-year-old, I'd be sitting on here trading here every day, since you have the time, the energy to do that. If you're in your mid 30s, you have a career or you have kids, you probably don't want to be doing this much. So you probably be going the slower route. And if you're a little bit older, you probably wouldn't be taking as much risk as we are. And it's okay. And it's really, all of finance and all of investing is very personal, but just because things are going up and going down and everybody's making money, just make sure that you kind of stick to your core positions, trade and invest and do things that you're comfortable and familiar with. Because again, you're not going to hold these positions, and you're not going to be able to do some of these things that you don't know or you haven't done the research for. So I hope you guys the best of luck for today in the market, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow to go over some other things. See ya.